Winston Churchill once said, "There's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a man." In my 11 years with horses, I have found this quote to be totally manifest in my life. When I was about 10, I finally convinced my parents to allow me to take riding lessons. I had tried desperately for the first 10 years of my life to convince my parents to buy me a pony, or at the very least, let me take riding lessons. Once we moved to a smaller town though, they finally gave in, and I started taking lessons. From that first lesson, I was completely hooked. I would be out at the barn every chance I could get, every ride I could get there for my parents, my grandparents, my friends' parents. I would be at the barn. I spent years learning everything I could about horses. Riding every different style, riding every different horse. I'd ride the good ones, the bad ones, the ugly ones, the pretty ones, didn't matter. I loved everything about horses. When I turned 15, I moved to a barn 5 minutes from our house. At that barn, I found the horse, the special horse, that I never thought I would be in my means to have any contact with. I thought he'd be too expensive, out of my league, talent-wise. Nobody would ever want to sell him to me. But through a little, chance and luck, his owners ended up having to sell both him and his sibling horse. I ended up leasing Bentley for a year and then purchasing him. Bentley and I did everything together. He was my pride and joy. I trained him myself since I couldn't afford to have my trainer train him. We reached the highest levels in our divisions. I was second in Northern Illinois in 2005, and Bentley was the third-ranked horse in Northern Illinois as well. We moved to a couple different barns trying to find our right fit trainer-wise. Eventually we did find that trainer, but then Bentley started having sound-ish issues. He was going lame on a regular basis, and we determined that it was because he couldn't hold up to the level that I was competing at. So I made the almost impossible decision to sell Bentley and to use the money from Bentley to purchase a more suitable horse for my level. It was the hardest decision I ever had to make. I ended up selling him to an NBA basketball player who bought him because he was such a big horse. He was 18 two hands, and so he thought he'd be a good fit. And Mark absolutely loves him. He's had a trainer show him in Florida, and he's had people offer $65,000, $80,000 for Bentley, which shocked me to death. I never thought that would happen for Bentley. But Mark hasn't sold him and loves him to death. Then after I sold Bentley, I actually fell out of riding for a couple years. I had to have 2 back surgeries. So that in combination with the pain of having to sell Bentley kept me out of riding for a while. But my sister ended up buying a little paint mare a couple years ago, which I'd go out and ride her after work, but I never quite had that connection that I had had with Bentley with her. So what I did is I started feeling around for another horse to buy. I was walking through the barn one day after a couple months of looking and not having any luck, when this little black and white gelding stuck his nose out of the stall and kind of gave me that special look. No horse had responded to me that way. So the next day I asked the trainers about him, tried him, and instantly in one ride felt a connection. I liked him so much that I purchased him before the day we were leaving for a vacation to Disney World. So when we got back from our 2-week vacation, I had a brand new horse waiting for me. Why it's been the most important aspect of my life for the last year and a half that I've owned him. He's the most special horse I've ever known. I've never known a horse with his personality. Even though he drives me crazy, I call him my little Fruit Loop. There's something about him that I can't describe that just he's my best friend. And he's also been the most steady, faithful companion I've had, ever in my life. Even Bentley, who I had a really good bond with, why it tops him. Winston Churchill's quote also has been manifest, even more so in my life. In the last couple months, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer in November, and the day after, my grandmother, my father's mother, was diagnosed with breast cancer as well. The last few months have been emotionally, physically, mentally very hard on myself and my whole family. But the one thing that's been constant in my life has been Wyatt. I can have the most stressful day at work and with the family and with everybody being sick, and I just take a half-hour drive to the barn and spend a couple hours with Wyatt, and I come home feeling like a brand new person. There's something about animals that just speaks to people. If you're a genuine good person, they bring out the best in you. And I found that to be true. I work full-time at an animal hospital as a veterinary technician. I plan to be involved with horses for the rest of my life and involved with animals for the rest of my life and as long as I can. There's something about them. They don't judge you. They don't ask questions. I believe George Eliot had a quote that said the same thing, that animals are our most agreeable companion. They don't judge and they don't pass criticism.